Hi everybody. Today I'm going to share my views with you all with reference to what is called as relatedness. Now, if you look in any aspect of life, ranging from something which is so important, the nature, look at any organization, look at any family, any institute. I think one thing which you'll find is that look, things are always related. And over a period of time, what has happened that look, we started dividing things into multiple parts, and in that process of dividing things into multiple parts, what we have forgotten is the relatedness of it. Okay, for example, if you look at an organization, the organizations are over a period of time divided into multiple functions. Within the function, you'll find that the function is divided into multiple verticals, and you will also acknowledge and agree that there's always a gap between different functions, between different verticals of the function. You'll also find that there are differences between the multiple units. For example, if there is a business group which has got multiple units, the units have differences and there are gaps. Now, all this division is fine. There's nothing wrong in dividing things because if you do not divide things, managing them, understanding them, and developing a specialization on those elements becomes difficult. You can have a focused research on each of these elements. But what is very important is that look, it should not lead to what is called as a fragmentation. Okay. Now, dividing is fine, but ignoring the relatedness is something which is not okay. And most of our problems arise because we are not being able to see the relatedness. Okay. You try to do something in one particular function, let's say for example in a customer care function, you try to do something and you realize that look, there is an improvement in that particular function or that particular vertical, but you'll also find that look, it has an effect somewhere else which we generally are not able to relate. You start working on one element and you start losing on another element. Okay, you start working on another element, you start losing on another element, which is basically because we tend to ignore and see the holistic thing or missing the whole among the parts, or the better expression to that could be that missing forest in the trees. Anything which happens, I was surprised to read that look, recently there's been a heavy foggy sort of environment in Delhi, and when I was reading newspaper I came across an interesting observation that look, this all smoke is basically because there's a lot of paddy fields which are being put on a fire in Punjab, and the smoke or the sun which is not now visible in Delhi is because of that. Similarly, if the China produces more vehicles, the pollution of vehicles has an impact and bearing on North America. These are the macro level examples, but the point which I'm trying to drive home is that look, if we are not able to see the relatedness, we'll always land up into a solution which is called a symptomatic solution. We'll not be reaching to what is called as a fundamental solution, and only the fundamental solutions are solutions which are sustainable and have a longevity. Okay. Now, to understand the relatedness, I have come across a very interesting theory which is called as a theory of systems thinking, which says that look, everything is a system, and this universe is a system, and there are multiple subsystems which are there in the system. Human body is a system. There are multiple subsystems which are working in the body, and those subsystems have a relationship with each other. Okay, for example, if you take a painkiller, your stomach gets into a problem. If you take a paracetamol, the paracetamol will definitely cut the fever, but then it will have its impact on other parts of your body because it is an integrated whole. Similarly, in an organization, what is missed is that look, the integrated whole part of is something which has been ignored. People get into silos, people get into their own mindset, people get into their own assumptions. They're not wrong, but there is a limitation with them in terms of appreciating the relatedness of it. Okay. I also believe, interestingly, I don't know, I have no research to substantiate it, but the fact is that look, if I raise a question that look, why do we meet people whom we meet? Why we don't meet people whom we don't meet? Is it a destiny or is it just a mere coincidence? I have my own theory where I believe that no, it's not like that. I tend to meet all those people where there is something related. Could be this birth, could be in the last birth, but there is something which makes me meet that person. There is something which makes that person meet me because some way, in a very marginal way, we are related. Well, if we are able to appreciate this relatedness, I think the growth is there. Imagine the amount of time which is being wasted in an organization or in a family or in any setup in terms of proving that look, X is right or the Y is right. And if these X and Y can get together, get into a conversation, suspending their assumptions, suspending their ignorance of spatialization, I'm sure that the value which they'll be able to add would be phenomenal. Okay, we have divided the education system per se. Okay, I remember 20 years back, 25 years back, the number of specializations which were possible, either in engineering or in medical sciences, were limited. Today you have a hell lot of specializations. Okay, things have become so specialized, and one of the offshoot of this type of specialization is that look, things have also become fragmented. Okay, now there are multiple situations in medical science where a specialist is working on a patient and he can't move because there are going to be multiple impacts of that particular treatment, that specialized treatment which has been extended, and he would need a physician around all the time when the therapy is being administered. It is because physician is a person who is able to see the relatedness, and without physician, this specialist can just not work. I mean, he would need that physician along, and that's something which I'm trying to say, that look, the ability of seeing the whole, ability to see the relatedness, ability to see what makes a particular thing happen, the different elements which are responsible for this to happen. Okay, for example, I was trying to examine the reason of attrition in my organization, and I came across an interesting relationship that look, if my distribution or if my channel attrition is higher, my employee attrition is higher, and if my employee attrition is higher, the channel attrition is higher. Both of them are related. Okay, now if I take this piece of employee attrition separately and start working on it, ignoring and not understanding and appreciating the channel attrition, I am sure the gains are going to be limited. So I need to sit with my sales head and discuss it with the sales head, and then how does he intend to work in terms of the channel attrition, and how does I need to work, and how do I intend to work in terms of employee attrition. Now this is a very simple and a very strong example of seeing the relatedness for improving anything or for creating anything which is new, better, and more effective.